Welcome one and all to Last Stop Penn Station podcast featuring Cary Silkin and Ian Riccoboni. They dive deep into Cary's wealth of stories, and no subject is off limits. From the world of wrestling to his ticket agency, growing up in New Jersey, drug-fueled underground days, hustling in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and endless days and nights in New York City, every story is worth telling.
Hello, welcome everyone to another exciting edition of Last Stop Penn Station. Ian Riccoboni, our guest of honor, Cary Silkin. Cary,
We're back.
We're back. We were in the bubble, although the people didn't know we left, only because we told them that we left. But you were in the bubble. It blew my mind. You were a game time decision. I walked downstairs to go take my nice run around the complex, and there you were with Gary Juster saying hello, and it was great to see you there.
Well, it was great to go, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Real quick, it's almost customary to mention that if you enjoy the Last Stop Penn Station podcast, you'd also like to check out, if you're a wrestling fan or just interested in general history, the 55 and 5. We do this card set, the Parkhurst series from Canada, which Ian and I were collecting during the pandemic. Ian completed it, and we go card for card. Mm-hmm. It's on ad-free shows with Conrad Thompson, and it's on Ian's YouTube channel. And It's a really cool thing, as well as our poster of the week,
which is getting a great response. Cary, you have one-of-a-kind stuff, and the 55 and 5. Well, admit it gets about a dozen viewers the first week, maybe another dozen here or there. It gets up to, we seem to have a couple dozen fans of the 55 and 5. We have hundreds for the posters of the week.
Well, but it's with the 55 and 5. It's like over the course of time, even if 3 years from now it's 100 or 200, it's like there are people that are gonna come across it and be interested in it, and that's what's important, for the people that are interested in it. I'm sure you look things up. We all look things up on YouTube that
right.
Just what we like, and whether they have a million views or they have 100 views,
right?
We're happy that they're there. Mm-hmm. So that's what's good about a 55 and 5 and the poster of the week. And there's a lot of stuff going on with Ring of Honor. We always mention the Monday Night Watch Party. That was a good show this week.
Heck of a show. The Battle Royal come down to Joe Keys and LSG. They're going to meet each other. We had a lot of action. I like Danhausen. Danhausen come with the El Generico mask.
It's full disclosure.
Yeah.
I was coming back from dinner. I haven't missed. I think I might have missed one, or maybe I haven't missed any of them. But I was a little late getting home, so I got home around 7:15, and I just caught the end. Could you please tell me about?
Sure.
I guess I could have rewatched it, but
El Generico and Danhausen teamed up for a charity T-shirt that was to benefit, I believe, raising food or raising medical supplies for Syria, because Sami Zayn, El Generico's best friend, is involved in causes like that. And they released sort of a mashup T-shirt that sold very well. They raised a lot of money, and it's essentially Danhausen in El Generico's mask. And so over the course of time, it's become apparent that El Generico and Danhausen are friends, and Sami Zayn denies all involvement. But there's a connection with El Generico and Danhausen on a spiritual level. Danhausen spends a lot of his time in Montreal, in Quebec, and that's where Sami Zayn happens to be from the general area as well as Kevin Owens. And I think that area tends to be very friendly, as you might expect. They're all friendly and great people, but there's a certain bond from that area, including PCO, who's also French Canadian. So,
and I had great conversations with both PCO and Danhausen, which I'll get to. Just want to get through this Ring of Honor stuff. It's good.
6-man tag.
Right, the 6-man tag with Shane Taylor Promotions is really impressive.
Yeah, they're unstoppable, and I like their strategy. They're letting the Foundation and LFI and all these other guys just beat themselves up. And at the end of the day, there's going to be some bones to pick. And when Shane Taylor Promotions is ready, I think they're going to come in. They got the 6-man belts now. Would not surprise me if Shane Taylor becomes the world champ, if SOS becomes the tag champs.
And what was the name of the team that they were the younger?
Primal Fear. I've met those guys. They came to an open tryout at the Monster Factory in 2015. I like Danny Cage a lot. Will Ferrara was the guy with Jonathan Gresham that's taken them to the next level. Danny gave them a great foundation. Will helped them get TV ready. There's something to be said for both of those things. And Primal Fear did an awesome job in their first big TV match. They've been on TV before, but not like that. Not in that presentation. Not with the accoutrements of the videos and the graphics and the big presentation. And they're ready to step up to the next level.
Yeah, that was... I got to meet those kids when I was in Baltimore, which I'll get to again. But yeah, it was a good show, and we'll be back at you next Monday. And this is coming out Friday, and so we'll every Wednesday at 7:00.
7:00, you bet.
On YouTube. It's why do I say I want to say
Women's Division Wednesday.
Women's Division Wednesday. I made a note. I put Women's Wednesday. If Freddie the Weeper would be involved, he'd be like, women. Remember I told you how Freddie, he instead of saying, I gotta go see Nancy, he would just say, I gotta go see a woman.
Oh.
Like Freddie. And she was a nice lady. But the woman. So Women's Division Wednesday, which is some really good stuff going on there.
Yeah, we had Trisha Dora, we had Miranda Alizé, we've had Roxy, we've had we had Max. They was awesome. Just a great group of women really building the foundation. We got some more debuts. I'm not going to spoil it. We got a lot of debuts coming up. A lot of names that we've heard loud and clear on the Facebook. The Experience, Ring of Honor Experience Facebook page, where you can tell us who you want to see and who you want us to bring in. You can use that hashtag Choose Your Honor for Ring of Honor as well. And we've been taking that seriously. And there's been some good fan suggestions that we'll see. And because of the fans, Survival of the Fittest is back. It's coming. The first ever TV exclusive Survival of the Fittest is coming your way in June.
That's cool.
11 out of the 12 are first-time participants. So we're guaranteed to have a first-time winner, in fact.
Okay.
So very cool.
I'm going to put you on the spot here because I listened to it yesterday when it dropped. The Ring of Honor's official ROH Strong podcast.
Yeah.
Kevin Eck had on, who was the pretty 19-year-old girl?
Roxy.
Right. He had Roxy on. Is she from Texas?
From Texas, yeah.
Yeah, so she was interviewed, and Kevin's younger than me, but he's not a kid, and it was just really interesting hearing this 19-year-old athlete who's very good.
Yeah.
A lot of talent in the ring, but if you're 19, I mean, you just don't have that much. I'm not knocking her at all. Yeah. Just not that much life experience yet. Who does? You're only 19.
Sure.
But it was good to, hear that interview after hearing old dogs like Homicide, or
who we love,
dog like you,
right?
Or me,
some new blood. Who knows? Maybe some of the new hit songs. I can't name a hit song. She could probably name 10 of them.
Right. And Roxy, she was nervous, but she should be nervous. That's the right. And that's not an insult.
Absolutely. That nervous, that good nervous energy.
You're on the RH Strong podcast. That's pretty cool.
Thousands of listeners. Her story is so compelling. She trained under Booker T. Went to her first event with her mom. Started taking the Greyhound with her mom to get to different wrestling shows. And at one point, her mom said, "You got this. I trust you. Here's a cell phone. You got this." And
I think she started in the ring when she was 16.
Yeah. So I think she might have gone to her first event when she was 13 and got interested. And just a few years, that Texas scene's red hot. I mean, that's where Miranda Alizé, excuse me, is from California, but a couple of the other folks that you'll see, I don't want to give the names away, some names that have been suggested are also from that Texas scene. So we're going to be having a lot of new blood coming through Ring of Honor in the women's division. Very exciting time.
Yeah. I know that Maria's involved.
Mm-hmm. Maria's got a great eye for talent, for sure.
Absolutely. And I don't think we're supposed to.
Yeah, Bobby Cruz.
All right.
Say, yeah.
You see, if I mentioned him, he might be. I was worried that it was like that was sort of a secret.
Yeah, they mentioned that he's one of the matchmakers for the division. Maria's kind of the scout, and they're both kind of co-matchmakers.
Bobby has a lot of really good experience,
Absolutely,
and he has a good eye.
Mm-hmm. You know what I like about Bobby and Maria? Bobby has 20 years of coaching softball and women's hockey and
dealing with teenage daughters.
And Bobby Cruz, I'm going to break the fourth wall here, is probably one of the best dads I've ever seen in action. And what I mean by that is when we're in Buffalo and his daughter happens to be playing hockey 40 minutes away, he's able to figure out how to get a whole bunch of us over there to watch her play, to make signs and to cheer her on. And that's Sarah. And when Kenna's, if he brings Kenna on the road, and when he can, like I bring Zach and Nora and Sarah. And he's always got time for his daughters, no matter what else is happening in the world. And so that's going to be a really nice voice to have in the room. And then Maria, she's been a model since she's been 12 years old, so she's had some sort of spotlight on her most of her life at this point. And she has children. She has daughters.
Hard to believe,
right?
As gorgeous as she is, and some women have kids, but this Maria she's a supermodel.
She is.
Gorgeous woman.
I've never gotten nervous on commentary.
And a very nice person.
Very nice person. Very good communicator. Very much. There are. When people give me advice, I listen, but Maria, I make sure that my ears are extra open because she's been there, done that. She's been everywhere, and you gotta keep your ears open for advice from someone like that.
Well, so that's another exciting Ring of Honor note, and what the most exciting for me is that on 7/11,
you bet,
July 11th, Ring of Honor is going to be doing the best, what is it? The best in the world pay-per-view in front of a live crowd. It's going to be socially distanced. There's going to be pods.
There'll be masks.
Tickets go on sale in, I believe, early June.
Yep, I think the first week of June.
Check the website for the exact date.
$10 discount if you're an Honor Club member. So if you're buying more than one ticket, get the subscription for a month. You pay $10. If you're getting more than one ticket, You've already made your money back.
And this is going to be at the beautiful, and I'm not kidding, the beautiful UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore campus at the arena. And it's going to be so cool to have fans back.
It will. And there's already ideas out the wazoo that about ways to make it special. And what I want to see the streamers. I want to see the streamers back. That's healthy. COVID, they've shown, has not been known to travel on surfaces. I'm probably going to bring $200 worth of streamers and hand them out myself. I want to see Homicide not be able to move. I want to see him get covered in streamers so much that he can't move as a welcome back. I want Tony Deppen to get the treatment, who's never had it before. Chris Dickinson, these new guys that are really making a big impact really quick. I want to see Bandito get it. The Briscoes, that place might explode. The Briscoes are liable to bring their whole family, and they could be socially distanced together. They could have a whole section, Cary, like they did 2 years ago. You remember that against the Young Bucks? They had the whole wall. They had close to 200 people there.
I know. The Briscoe crew.
They travel well. There's no. It's a family within a family, friends and family. Yeah.
All race, all creed, all color, all ages.
Hell
the
yeah.
Briscoes welcome everyone.
Yeah.
And Papa Briscoe up front.
Leading the charge.
It's going to be so good to have people back at Ring of Honor. I'm going to talk about my little trip in a minute, which I've said 3 times already. But real quick, I've been AJ and I. We usually talk about a little bit about it. What have you been watching lately? Anything of interest?
I watched the WWE Hidden Gem documentary.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I like them because they show stuff you don't normally see. They showed Puerto Rico footage of the Iron Sheik, which was the first time they've ever shown anything since they purchased the library.
I guess I got to give it more time because the one I saw was when they went to Dave Milliken. Am I pronouncing his name right? The famous belt maker.
Belt maker Dave.
Looking for Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Right? And when Andy Kaufman did his famous wrestling thing with Jerry Lawler, and he broke his neck during the match, and he wore around that neck brace for months, even on the David Letterman show, and Lawler smacked him.
Right.
And but it just seems, for my taste, a little too.
It's produced,
overly produced, but it's cool when you have the kind of memorabilia that you have and I have. Mm-hmm. It's like we know how you get it, and what they consider treasures. Everyone has their own taste, so who am I to say?
This one was a fun one. They did the Sergeant Slaughter Iron Sheik feud. So they're looking for one of Sheik's boots, the loaded boot, and they got one. They found a collector that had one, which was cool. But I had a moment where I saw that the guy's collection, and he had a really neat LJN set. He had everybody in the set autographed on the figure, including Andre, including Adrian Adonis, which the Adrian one, I kind of don't know if that's real because I kind of think that figure came out. It would have been a very small window to get that one signed, but who am I to say? But I looked at it and I thought, man, Cary's got more stuff than this just walking in his living room.
Well, you have a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, but it was fun and very nice collection. They were looking for Sergeant Slaughter stuff as well, and they went to Sergeant Slaughter himself, and he had very cool. He kept almost all of his stuff very nicely stored. Some of it displayed. They got one of his swagger sticks, the riding crop, and they got one of his hats. They also found the Persian clubs, which they went to Bob Backlund's house because Iron Sheik gifted them to Bob Backlund. Really? Yeah.
Those are those Persian clubs that you see the Iron Sheik would do these exercises. They were like 60 pounds each. And the way he handled them, and it looked like it was,
looks effortless the way he did
10 pounds.
Yeah.
And so
there was 2 unique Easter eggs in that special.
Yeah, what were those?
They showed the clubs in action, and one of them was when Sheik was in Georgia, and there was a bodybuilder named Jim Hellwig.
Oh.
Who did the clubs.
I know who that is.
It's the Ultimate Warrior.
Right.
They didn't label it, though. And so if you knew, you knew, because they showed the clip of that. They were like, even bodybuilders couldn't do it. And it was a nice little wink because it was Jim Hellwig. The other one was they blurred Mel Phillips out both times he was on screen, and probably rightfully so.
Right.
Some horrible accusations there. But it almost drew more attention to it in a weird way because it was, who's that blurred out? Oh, okay, that's Mel Phillips. When he wasn't even really on the screen, it just kind of drew. But, if you don't know that story, I hope you never have to find out. Right. Not a great guy. I watched that. I've been watching a lot of basketball. The Sixers are in first place, heading into the playoffs. Got playoff tickets, which I'm very excited about. Hot item. My friend bought some and turned around and sold them within minutes for triple. You bought $100 tickets, sold them for $300.
Well, it is the playoffs.
Yeah.
What's their capacity there?
It looks like about half. They're doing center court sections, but they're not doing the rounded sections.
And where are your tickets?
Mine are center court, front row, upper level.
Those are great seats.
Yeah, and they're $100 a piece. And
in this day and age, that's not bad. Yeah,
but to give you an idea, just a couple of years ago, the first time the Sixers made the playoffs in the recent era, the process era, those tickets were $16. So
that's the way it is
for the playoffs. But very exciting time. Other than that, just been watching that Report of the Week guy who does a lot of the food reviews. He's kind of a nerdy guy like myself. Slicked back hair. He reviews fast food items, and He does Taco Bell, Burger King.
All the stuff you don't eat.
All of it. Nah, I sneak it in. I've been hitting the gym again, though. I cleared 300 on the deadlift.
Oh.
So,
Mazel tov.
thank you.
That's great.
It is. So I'm excited. The gym is back. I'm still wearing the mask. They say you don't have to, but a lot of the people in the gym are still wearing it. If you're vaccinated, you apparently don't have to wear it, but most of the people still are. It's going to take a while for me to take mine off. Well,
I've been just delighted the last number of days, and it's only been a number that we finally got out. Only a fool curses the weather. Well, I'm a fool. It's been a long winter, and it has not been a great spring, and it felt so good we're recording this on a Tuesday night, but like yesterday and today, I opened my little rinky-dink pool, and I was able to go in the backyard. I have some cush lounge chairs that are very comfortable. At some point, you should, Sarah and the kids, you should come over.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We like to lounge out there, and it just felt so good to be in, when it was like the other day, it was like 71. It felt like it was 90.
Yeah.
Because we suffered through a lot of subpar days.
Yeah.
So the weather is, and I think the rest of the week is going to be warm. So we deserve it. I saw something on the news that this spring, the Northeast, even going out to Chicago, this huge chunk of the country, compared to the average temperatures that they've been keeping, it's
year.
one of the worst. It was one of the worst springs as far as just temperature-wise.
Yeah,
there was only just a handful of good days, but let's hope we've broken out of that. As far as what I've been watching, myself and AJ, I'm almost responsible for a divorce here. I'm feeling really bad. AJ's, we're always talking about he and I hanging out, and it's not like I'm his only friend, far from it. It's not like he's my only friend, but in the evenings, like with you come here for the podcast, but you have obligations to your kids, and other friends of ours have, they're tired from a hard day's work, and they've got younger kids that take up a lot of time. AJ's not in that situation. He has a wonderful son who's doing very well, who's, almost 20. He's going to be 20. Imagine that. And but anyway, so why is this divorce coming? The lovely Melissa, who's a dear friend of mine, who I've known over 20 years also, I started watching The Sopranos, and I was about, 8 episodes into the first season. We mentioned it on a podcast or two before, and AJ jumped in. I'm like, well, we could watch something else, because we have very, if it's something about music, if it's something about history that's interesting, we'll check it out. We have no problem. But AJ's like, no, put it on. I go, but it's on episode 8. He goes, I like The Sopranos. I'm like, oh, okay. So that night we watched a couple of them. So, and I haven't seen it since it came out.
Okay.
So bare bones, I know what's going on, but all the details I forgot. And it's just so well written. And we were talking earlier, the musical directors are great for this background music, and they just have these really good songs. They could afford to pay the copyright.
Right.
And so point is that AJ, after that first night, when he was leaving, he goes, well, you can, here you're on episode 10. I'll put we watched him on CD, so DVD rather. So anyway, I said, well, do you want to keep watching him? He goes, yeah. And so as it turned out, I don't want to put words in AJ's mouth, but we've been so hooked on them that we've been here every night. And so, and AJ's got a lovely relationship with Melissa, but she's getting a little jealous of me. Why are you going to Cary's house?
Oh my goodness.
When in truth would be that she likes to do her own thing often anyway.
Yeah.
But we've really been enjoying it. I usually have a report on some other kind of, I watched this documentary. I got one for you.
Yeah.
Did you see 60 Minutes this week?
I did.
What? And you were talking on our
UFO'S.
you were talking on our last episode. We were talking about these phobias when I was talking about when these floors were done. And I just don't like people being in the house. And we got to the stuff about going back to old neighborhoods, whether we like it or not. And then we were talking about cemeteries. And then you revealed one of your deepest, darkest, I don't know if it's fears, but something that sort of
makes me uneasy,
freaks you out a little.
Yeah.
Is just the whole idea of space and, where does it end,
Yeah.
So, which really isn't about UFOs, but it is.
It kind of is, because they've detected and admitted that there are things, the U.S. government and government officials and former government officials that would have information on this have declassified and admitted there are things that essentially don't follow the rules of physics as we know it, that are just flying around the sky, that are doing things that, as far as we know in terms of physics, are not possible, that are moving faster in directions and all kinds of things that are not detectable on radar, but that are visible. Just some incredible stuff. And there's years of this. There are years and years of this. I remember watching documentaries on this in 2000 and in 2005, and they were saying these people were crazy, that, the government's seen this, the government's seen that. And then just on a Sunday night, they just came out and said, oh yeah, most of this is true. All of it's true. Here's some footage. And no one gave a hoot. I mean, it trended on Twitter for a little bit, but these are things in the sky that we don't know where they're coming from. Could it be Russia? Could it be China? Maybe. Could it be, a country like that? But who knows how to bend physics?
I know. It's fascinating. There was a brief period of time when I went on a small UFO many years ago, kind of a little bit of a tangent. And of course, there's the Roswell incident.
Yeah.
And hundreds and thousands of other incidents, and it seems that there's certain areas, whether it be the Bermuda Triangle or desert areas, where there's more of these sightings. So yeah, that was really, I thought of you when I was watching it.
It's incredible. And they're just out in the open on camera saying, yes, this happened. Yes, we know it's true. That the guy from Blink 182 was the one that accidentally declassified it. Are you familiar with that story?
No.
One of the guys from, I believe it was Blink 182, was a big UFO fan, supporter, researcher, investigator, and he had gotten this footage that essentially forced the military to say, yes, this footage is real. No, we don't know what it is. And so...
Have you think you've ever seen something?
I thought I saw one, and I'll tell you, it wasn't it. My parents live in Fort McCoy, Florida. It's near a military testing. It's near a base. There's a kind of, not secret base, but there's a base kind of buried in the woods, and they do some flyovers from time to time. And when it's dusk and it's kind of in the sun setting, and they're flying real low with some of those stealth, because they'll take the stealth fighters out and they fly low, probably a couple 100 feet, if that. It makes you think, because they move fast. And you see one, you're like, what the hell was that? But then you find out that the base is close by, and then occasionally they'll take them for the test runs and the flyovers, and they try and see what they can do maneuvering them at low altitude. My
problem with it is that if there is this great... if the universe is infinite, then could this be the only life?
No.
Right. So with that in mind, and we know about this solar system, and I'm speaking very rudimentary terms here, but if we know about this solar system, these crafts, these beings, these whatever that are, if it does exist, and I believe something exists, you're talking about leaving different galaxies.
Right.
To, and the amount of time it takes, and the speed, and it's like right away I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just beyond, and then you could get back, well, then how are the pyramids built? How is this? How did this,
Or the pictures of the spaceships on the walls in Arizona that, the natives drew, or even in Iran. I mean, there's some hieroglyphics there. The world's oldest civilization, Tehran, Iran. Let's bring it back to the Iron Sheik. There's stuff there. There's the Baghdad Battery that was created 6,000 years ago in Iraq. There's all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, this stuff should be declassified.
Yeah.
Back in the olden days, they didn't want people to be panicking.
Right.
Did I ever tell you the story about the guy? Did we talk about this on the podcast about the guy that worked in one of these, in my club band experience with Joe Savage and Bonnie Parker and Crystal Shipp and these club bands? There was a band called the Zap Band, and I knew...
not the famous Zap, not Roger.
The famous,
okay.
not your
not
Zap
Roger,
band.
yeah.
This is ZAPP. They were a club band, good rock and roll band. But there was this guy, Alan, this crazy old hippie who lived up like by Newburgh, New York. I didn't tell you the story about his close encounter of the third kind.
Never.
It's just the story. And I wasn't with the band at the time. But if you would... When I was hired to do my lighting and roadieing gig, the existing members of the band who knew him, I heard the story secondhand because Alan didn't want to talk about it anymore because he got a lot of, guys were like, you're stoned, you're nuts. Well, this is how the story went real quick. The band had a week gig in Rutland, Vermont at a ski resort.
Okay.
And there was one day off, which was like on a Monday, and this is during the ski season. So there was a lot of, there were a lot of people. And in the evenings, they had a club with 500 people partying all night. And the band was good. It was a rock/dance band, but they were excellent. Anyway, Alan was a horn player and sang. Classic old hippie guy. He looked like the classic picture of like a wizard.
Sure.
Right, but without the hat.
Okay.
Like the beard, and he was a short guy.
Silver hair.
Excuse me?
Silver hair.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is his story. And from my friend Joe Guida, who was with them, told me the story. He goes, so we had that night off, and Alan, he was notoriously cheap. So in order to go, instead of spending, this is like 1978 or something, instead of spending $1.50 for a pack of cigarettes at the vending machine, unless you wanted to buy food or anything else at the ski resort at their high prices, you could drive like 12 miles on this little road into the town. And there's nothing on the road except when you get to like the 7-Eleven or gas station, whatever it was. So Alan goes to buy, he said, well, I'll get cigarettes, I'll buy some sodas, I'll buy some beers, I'll buy some snacks, it's better than paying these guys are robbing us here. a goddamn soda is 50 cents. Anyway, so he goes to this store, and how could I tell this? So this is the guitar player for his. So we're all back and we're all hanging out together. They probably gave, just like wrestling style, an old ring, they probably gave 6 band members like 2 rooms, right? So the guys from the band, one of them was sleeping, but like 3 or 4 of them were hanging around, having a drink, maybe smoking a joint, watching some TV. And all of a sudden, the door opens, and it's Alan, and he's literally speechless, and he has a roach, the remainder of marijuana cigarette on his lip, just like, and everyone's like, "The hell are you doing?" And he was like, he couldn't talk.
Holy
so
crap.
They sat him down, and when when they got him to talk, he's like, "You're not going to believe what happened." And they're like, "Well, what happened, bro? What happened?" Here's what he claimed. He drove into town. He went and picked up whatever the hell he got, his smokes, his sodas, his beers, his snacks. And now he's driving back. And it's about 8 o'clock at night. And there's like 10 miles of road that had no lights until you got to the ski resort. Mm-hmm. And it's just through the woods, over the hill and through the woods. Right? So on the way back, Alan said, "I see these lights, like bright, like out of this worldly. And these lights came over my car, past the car above me, and it looked like they went like right into the woods, like as if, but no crash or anything like that."
Yeah.
And so he says, and of course he's stoned. So he says, "So I pulled over." I'm like, "Because where are the lights? I mean, I saw this thing maybe 100 yards up go into the woods." So he says, "So I pulled over, but I didn't see any lights." So I stood there and I was really freaked out. Like, what the hell? I wasn't telling these guys. These guys are laughing. Come on.
Yeah.
And he said, "Listen, I wasn't tripping. I was just smoking a little weed." He goes, "These fucking lights, da 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 da." So, and all these guys are breaking his chops. And he was getting angry. So Alan says, "Let me finish the story." So he's given up on it. He waited there for like 5 minutes or so. He didn't want to go into the woods.
Yeah.
Right? And he says, "But I saw these, massive lights just come over me and then just disappear. And then there's nothing." So Alan gets back in the car, turns the car on, according to him, and starts driving up that road. And within about 100 feet, 200 feet, the only lights are his headlights. And he still didn't see any of the lights of this unidentified object. And as he's driving and he's going just starting off slow, he sees something. And he says, "Is that somebody hitchhiking? Who could that be?" And as the car is getting closer, he sees and this is the story he's telling the other 4 stoned out gamers. Yeah. "I see this being." And they're like, "Get the fuck out of here. What the hell are you talking about?" Now, what year did Close Encounters come out?
77 or 78 or maybe 79.
Somebody look it up, please.
Yeah.
It's an important part of the story.
Yeah, I can look this up
while we're just trying to get this Close Encounters.
77.
Story. All right. So this happened. This was like 1976 because I joined this band in around 78, and so everybody was lambasting Alan.
Yeah.
And you didn't see nothing. You're fucking breaking our balls. And he said, so he goes, "Give me a piece of paper." And they're like, "For what, man?" He goes, "I got to draw something." Well, he wasn't a great artist, but he drew a replica of what he felt he saw.
Whoa.
And it had the big head and those crazy, enlarged, the Close Encounters classic, there's many of these.
Yeah. The gray alien.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's mainly the eyes and the head. And long story, long, not so boring story. And then after I'd heard that, and I would And I was friends with him, and I said, "Hey, Alan, I heard." He goes, "I don't want to talk about it." So maybe he did have a close encounter.
Yeah. My wife and a couple of her friends and a couple of people at her high school all saw the same bright light there one night. And that's North Jersey, it's Bergen County, Oakland, New Jersey. They're not sure what it was. They're not sure what it, the one time Venus, it was 2008 or 2009, it was the closest Venus ever was. And I looked up and it was freaky because you could see it. Like you could see Venus rotating. And to see something that, you don't normally see because the rotations don't normally line up was kind of crazy too. But I've never had something like where I thought I've seen a light, or I thought the stealth fighter was kind of wild. But to actually say you saw a being, that's a pretty substantial claim. Didn't Gerald Ford say he saw? Wasn't Gerald Ford?
A lot of people have, and they all seem to describe the same, likeness.
Right.
And once again, this was before that movie came out. We're not gonna. I wanted to talk about this. We keep threatening the sex tour. we got to really. And I just want to talk a little bit about my short trip to Ring of Honor. But real quick, we got a really good I personally, and from looking at the numbers we did, people really liked the last podcast when we just really were having a conversation and about spend time now. When I was telling the story of my father's passing, and I want to hail you.
Oh.
And no, seriously, and thank you for opening up when you were speaking about your brother and that situation. But it was just a good conversation, and we don't always have to be talking about peep shows and the furry and Misty Wet in the furry diva room.
Admittedly, that can be more fun sometimes.
Right, but it was refreshing in its own right to have that. And when I was telling the story about that, in the back of my mind, it's important. You're 35-ish. AJ's 45-ish. And I know when I'm telling the story, I'm like, I'm telling these guys this story, and both of, thank God, both their parents are AJ's and Ian's and Sarah's, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And Melissa's dad is, they're alive and well. So when I'm telling the story, I'm like, it's almost inappropriate because, I'm putting you in a position of like really making you think about, because nobody wants to think about the eventual passings. So the feedback I got from people was they were interested in hearing this. And it's really not morbid. It's just real.
It is. And it's a tough reality to confront, because you never want to think anything's going to end.
Of course not.
Whether that's stroking at the After Hours Club, you don't want that to end, or even something as simple as, I really hope the Sixers win the championship. I hope I get to see them play basketball until they win. But and then the next year. Well, what do you do the next year? So it's just really hard to think about finality and ends and things like that.
Look at Mike G.
Yeah,
he just wants them to play baseball
all night long.
And he's Mike's been working on the Last Stop Penn Station book. It's getting close. Wow. And then we're wrapping it up, and then it has to get a haircut and a lot of
good interviews, though, already.
Excuse me?
A lot of good interviews. Dozens.
But, so Mike's 5 years older than me. So he and I always goof around. He goes, I'm 70. I'm fucking 70. He's a young 70. He still enjoys himself and, loves his music, loves his sports, loves reading. He's still got, he's got his kids and his grandkids. And so and he like me has physical limitations with certain things, but this is what happens. But we goof around sometimes, because it's like, how many years we got left? But when you're talking to a guy who's 35 or 45, you got forever. But so yeah, it was a good episode. But yeah, I'm going to just talk about my trip to Baltimore. It was my return to Ring of Honor. I almost didn't, it's like, who was at the Clash? Should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
Frosty Freeze or Double O now. If I go, it will be trouble.
If I don't, it will be trouble.
Go back to listen to the Double O episode. But I was so conflicted with my back, my old guy bladder. I'm not embarrassed. Old guy bladder problems and just. So on Sunday night, the tapings were Tuesday and Wednesday, and on Sunday night, I had my stuff, my little bag packed, a sport coat and some pants, and I was like, that was one night I did not see AJ, and I was driving myself crazy. Should I go? Should I not go? At one point, I was going to unpack the little bag, and then I'll just wait till the morning. So I went. And you would see, once again, at your age, AJ drove recently down to Florida. It's driving hours and hours, no problems. You before the pandemic, did like 12 flights in 6 days.
Yeah,
crazy thing.
Flew out back and forth to San Diego twice with connections, and in between went to Indianapolis. Yeah.
So recently, I went to Tampa, but this was much harder for me.
Interesting.
Because of the driving and my back. And anyway, I left on Monday. I just said, all right, I'm going and I'm committed. And off I went. And the longest I had driven in a car up until this point, the continuous ride, because I'm always going to have to stop to take a leak, was an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
So I hit the blue route.
Yeah.
Right, I go down the extension, I hit the blue route. This is at noon.
Okay.
And naturally, I'm going to have to stop and take a leak at some point. But my back was feeling good. And I hit that blue route, and son of a bitch, I could see from, the map thing shows the color.
Oh, right.
There's a 2-mile delay, red. So
oh, no.
What happened was, it took me 45 minutes to an hour to go 2 miles, which would have been like 70 miles.
Right.
Because I'd have been flying.
You would have been, yeah.
Right.
You would have been almost there.
Right. So by the time I made it to that friendly, Delaware welcomes you.
Right.
Right. I made it to the bathroom. My back was sore, but it wasn't horrible. I stretched out a little. Then I had to go to get that COVID thing.
Oh, yeah. Which was a quick one this time. It's the rapid test, and it was
the Great Ouch Center.
Oh.
That's what it's called.
You had special arrangements. You got tested off-site.
I had special arrangements.
Yeah.
But in all due respect to the fine people at Ouch, I get there. So this is stop number 2. And now I have to take a leak again. So I'm going to, I'm knocking on the door, and they have the sign up. If you're here for COVID testing, call this number. The tests are done in the car. But I'm like this, so I could see the lady.
Yeah.
She's not coming in the door.
Yeah.
So I called the number, and she answered. So she could see me. I could see her.
Yeah.
And she was, like a 50-year-old woman. I'm like, hello, I'm with Ring of Honor. And to their credit, they had my name.
Yeah.
And I said, honey, or ma'am, can I just please use the bathroom? I said, I'm old, I've been driving. And she's like, we can't let anyone in to use the bathroom. There's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street.
Oh, no.
What kind of, what if I was bleeding, my arm was falling off? So
the Dunkin' Donuts would have fixed that too.
Yes. Anyway, I endured that. I made it to the Dunkin' Donuts, and from there I went to and I've never been there before, so it was very special to me, to the ROH Dojo.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a good spot. It's right near the airport. It's
Right,
there,
and it was only like 12 minutes from Ouch.
Yeah.
And it was perfect timing because I pull up and there's good old Silas Young smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
And who was with him? Another, not who you're thinking of. That's also a cigarette smoker, but there's another smoker out there. So
was it Ginley?
Ryan, it wasn't him. But someone. So fortunately, the athletic commission guy left.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I hope they don't listen to me. So I was able to get a proper greeting, and it was so good to see these guys. I saw Silas, Mike Bennett was there, Maria was there, Josh Woods. I come in, Danhausen was there.
Yeah.
Delirious was there, Will Ferrara, Amy Rose, PCO. I'm leaving some names out, but it was so nice to see these people. And from there, I went to the hotel where you were staying. Yeah. With the bubble bunch.
The bubble bunch, yeah. And I had an approved. It was almost like a conjugal visit. You get to tell David Floridia that you're either going to the gym or you're going to run or you're going to do something. So I went to the gym. And I was kind of embarrassed. I think I had the muscle shirt on at that point, maybe.
Well, it was a beautiful night, and
it was.
And Gary Juster would have went with me to the ball game. You know, the Orioles were playing.
Yeah.
But he had to do the physicals.
The physicals, yeah, because we had 60 to 70 wrestlers. So instead of rushing them through in the morning like they normally did, the commission was there and did them that night.
But apparently the Pat Pinella, from the Fine Athletic Commission, seemed to be in a much better mood, according to Ian King.
Yeah, Pat's been good with us. Maryland, despite having a conservative governor, which in the COVID era normally means the restrictions are less, despite their governor being conservative, he actually was conservative in the way he approached COVID, and good on Larry Hogan. For some of the regulations he put on to keep people safe. It kept the cases low in Maryland, some of the lowest in the country. And every time that we've had to run there, we've had to abide by their rules and the athletic commission, which is good because we're safe. But it felt good that most of the roster is vaccinated now. There was a little bit of leeway. I was out of my room more than I was before. I sat with you in the restaurant for a brief moment.
And Bobby.
And we got to talk a little bit. We had the masks on, but we were all right. Well,
what doesn't make sense is this: if everybody's been vaccinated, now there's been
breakthrough cases.
Honest, there's been times where guys tested positive, they go home.
Yep.
You know, but here's a case where everybody is negative,
and most are vaccinated,
but at least negative.
Right.
And so Monday night I had a kill on my own. I went to the Fine Horseshoe.
Oh, you snuck out. I guess you weren't technically.
No, I didn't have to. I'm allowed. I was allowed to.
That's true. Yeah,
I got tested and I was negative.
Yep.
So I did that. Went back. Went to bed early, and I was at the building at like 9:45. I think you understood, and a lot of the more mature guys understood. And it was great to see Joe Koff.
Yeah.
And Greg.
Who was there Joe Koff, to his credit, was there all day, both days.
I don't know if he was there all day the second day, but most of it. But yes, Joe, but all I knew was that I don't want to, I saw most of the guys. I don't want to hit traffic in Baltimore. I don't want to hit traffic in Philly. I got to worry about my back. And the last thing I want to do is extra time in the car. So some people were like, Cary, you're leaving already? Well, I've been there 3 hours. And on a normal, like in July, I'll be there like 10 or 11 hours, 12 hours. But it's not the same. The wrestling's great.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with Mark Davis and the job they did. Not that it plays better live
than you'd expect.
Not that the TV's great, but to see it live is really, really impressive.
I almost hope that there's a way that can be conveyed with the extra screens, that we could bring fans in so they could experience that, because that is very interesting. That is
no
very
one
cool.
does that.
No one does that, and that's very cool. And there'd be a way to do it with some fans. I mean, you'd have to get creative, but how intimate that huge building becomes just with that setup it's wonderful.
Yes, and so when I took off, I went up to you. You got it, and Caprice. And I saw Joe Koff, and Joe was like, Cary, just, he goes, for us, it's not the same. He goes, I understand, just get home safe. I'm really happy you came. Yeah. And I was happy. I was really happy I went. It's just to get me into shape. And not that I wouldn't be going nowhere between now and Baltimore, but it was a good test, but I made it. And that was my long, boring story of my return to Ring of Honor. But boy, was that sweet.
It was.
See all those people. And, even if it wasn't in the proper manner where you can't really hug properly. Yeah. Or I
hugged Gary Juster. I snuck one in.
Yeah, you can see it. But it was so cool. Yeah. It was so cool. And I can't wait for July. Actually, I can't wait for the wrestling, but I could wait for July because I'm enjoying this warm weather so much.
There you go.
I just want it one day. My so-called retirement now is sort of nice.
Yeah.
I've gotten into it with the weather. I've gotten into a groove where do a little exercising, do a little reading, do a little listening to whatever I'm listening to, some music, podcasts, books on tape, and enjoying some baseball and some TV. And the weather makes such a difference. So I'm really going to cherish these many weeks and months we have coming, because boy, did we earn it.
We did. And I said it when I walked in, it was such a beautiful night tonight that I'm glad we made it. I'm glad it feels like we're going to make it in terms of the virus, in terms of the vaccine. There's just this growing sense of relief as things, if you look at Google, obviously not every country's in this position, but if you Google the United States, fortunately for us, these vaccines seem to be working and working well. The cases are going down, the deaths are going down. In Lehigh County, where I'm at, it's down in the teens again for the amount of cases, and it was in the hundreds. So,
when you say in the teens, we're talking like
new cases of COVID and things like that.
On what, a daily?
A daily basis, yeah.
Okay.
And it's almost in the single digits again. So
there's only one thing I don't understand, and we'll wrap this up. Texas looks like before we started, the Yankees are down there playing the Texas Rangers.
Ballpark's full.
The ballpark's full. I had that. You had the experience in Florida, although you were in a very
Disney World was
distant,
very controlled. Right? The airport was controlled.
I was in Tampa. It wasn't hog wild, and I went to the Rays game, and it was socially distanced, but the bars were packed in various places. So the question is, how come? And I'm glad, but how come the hospitals aren't like overflowing?
It's going to take
odd.
It's going to take years to figure this virus out, and I'm just glad they figured out the vaccine, because there's going to be things we find out probably about people's body composition, because it's thankfully it's spared children as far as we know so far, but it's affecting obese people, it's affecting thin people, it's affecting old, it's affecting middle age. There's long COVID where there's people my age that just get it and never hasn't gone away. They have the persistent cough. They have the long-term symptoms. It's obviously killing people. I still think we've just scratched the surface on understanding what this is. I don't, just like the aliens and the UFO'S. So I think there's still so much we're going to find out. Thankfully, this this vaccine seems to be working.
Yes.
And works against the variants, knock on wood. And, I'm going to wear my mask in crowded places for a while, probably just for my own sanity. But I'm excited to take it off in Baltimore. And there's more dates scheduled. I won't spoil where or when.
I won't either.
But a couple of states can be expecting a Ring of Honor soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So next week we'll get down and dirty. We'll get to some more stories. This is just basically a conversation that rolled from UFO'S to bladder problems, driving, and The Sopranos and everything else in between. I want. The other thing I've been enjoying is, and I'm going to wrap this up, but I've been really enjoying this Yogi Berra book. You're such a big baseball fan, and what an interesting guy. We'll talk a little bit about that next week. I will do that damn sex tour.
There you go. I've been reading Sixers Odyssey. It's about weird players. Mike Gminski. It's about the time Manute Bol.
I remember him.
Shot multiple 3-pointers. For the Sixers. It's just interesting one-off little events. It's a cool little book. I got HBO Max, so I could probably watch The Sopranos now. I've been watching Vice Principals, though, with Danny McBride.
Well, I have no idea what that is.
It's a comedy show. There's two vice principals.
Do you know what that is, AJ?
Bill Murray's the principal. He leaves at the beginning of episode 1. They both think they're going to get the principal spot. And it's an African-American woman. They're both very kind of subtly racist, and they're very perturbed that she's a woman and that she's African-American. And
is this a current series?
Kind of, 2016, 2017. And she's the epitome of class. And by episode 3, they burn her house down because there's such weird...
What is it, like a dark comedy?
Yeah, dark comedy. And it's weird because these guys are clearly pieces of crap. But you get to a point where you almost root for them in certain ways, but not others. And it's a fun show. It's a funny show. It's like Eastbound and Down. It's the same guy who was a baseball player that kind of flamed out and thought he was hot stuff and really wasn't. That's kind of Danny McBride's character that he plays in all of his shows and movies. So.
Well, we'll come back at you next week. We appreciate you listening to Last Stop Penn Station. Please subscribe. Leave us a review if you like. If you don't, oh well.
Yeah.
We still love you anyway.
Yeah.
And it was good. I enjoyed just sitting here talking.
Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. And we hope to entertain you next week. Let's give him the sex tour. What do you say?
Give him the sex tour.
For AJ from Bassan Creative Web Design, for Cary, Silken, I'm Ian Riccaboni. Thanks for listening. Happy wrestling. And we'll see you back here next week on Last Stop Penn Station.
We hail you for listening to Last Stop Penn Station podcast. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and share on your favorite platform. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or at laststoppennstation.com.